Hi guys, it's me, HD, and welcome to the final live stream of 2023. I hope you guys are doing well. Of course, the season ended a couple weeks ago. Feels like it ended about 3 months ago, for me, because I've been so busy with stuff. But yeah, great to see you guys here. Hope you're all doing well. Hope your Decembers so far are going to plan, going well. And no matter what time zone you're in, what part of the world you're from, hope you're all doing as best as possible. Come to the end of 2023, and we've got quite a bit to get into in tonight's, or not tonight, but today's stream. The original plan was I was just going to be going through early predictions for 2024 in this stream, which I will still be doing, but there is another story that must take the most of the attention, I think, in this particular stream, which has been the FIA and Formula One basically going to war over this Toto and Susie Wolf conflict of interest, story, controversy, whatever you want to call it. So we are going to be going through that. I'll be giving my thoughts on what's all happened. Honestly, been a crazy thing, this story. And it literally, we, heard that, Toto and Susie were under investigation. I think, was it Tuesday? And then, 3 days later, the amount of developments to the story, it was like the world had caught on fire. It was, quite wild that way. Yeah, we're going to be going through all of that. Like I said, I'll be giving my takes on that. Also, a couple other pieces of news that I want to get into regarding 2024 and just the future of Formula One. There's been a couple other bits of news in regards to that. And then we will get into my predictions for 2024. Again, very early predictions. They're not my final predictions. I'll be making those right before the first Grand Prix in Bahrain in late February, early March. But yeah, we'll be getting into that in probably the second half of the stream. But again, main focus here today, controversy regarding this woman and her husband, Toto Wolff, and this man, other man on screen, Mohammed Ben Sulayem, of course, the FIA president. And, well, what a story we have seen in the last day. So, what happened was, and I'll try and cover all of the things that have happened and try and remember all the things that have happened because, again, there's been so many developments in such a short amount of time. Maybe I'll forget a couple of things. I'll try not to. But the start of this was a publication called Business F1 released an article basically accusing Toto Wolff of sharing confidential information in a team principals meeting that, according to this article, only he could know because his wife, Susie Wolf, who is the F1 Academy director. F1 Academy is the female racing series. She's the director of that, which is absolutely right on. There was accusations that, he had access to whatever information that he, talked about because of his wife being, within FOM and within that organization. Quite a serious accusation. A lot more serious, I think, than people actually realize. So, yeah, it was, when I saw that story, I thought, that might be a bit interesting. But then all of a sudden, what was it? Was it later that day or a day later? It was very quick, it felt like. We had, let me just try and get it up. We had a very quick response, I guess you could call it, from the FIA. Hopefully, when I share my screen, everything will be okay. This was on December 5th, which was on Tuesday evening. Toto and Susie Wolff were put under investigation by the FIA for a possible conflict of interest. And then goes on to say there are concerns that Toto Wolff is aware of confidential information regarding FOM. And Susie Wolff, Toto's wife, recently, I think, was it a few months ago, appointed F1 Academy director. We'll get into the part of the article that basically accuses these two of, a conflict of interest in a moment. But yeah, very quick development it was to this particular story. And then if I scroll up a bit, you can see here, Formula One issued a response a couple hours later, noting that the public statement made by the FIA this evening was not shared with Formula One in advance, and Formula One added that they were fully confident that as you can see, the allegations had no foundation and were basically complete bullshit. And then, let me go through this Mercedes statement before I get through the a bit of the farce of the other statements from the other teams. Mercedes then released a statement very quickly after Formula One did, and this was what the statement said. Quote, "We note the generic statement for the FIA this evening, which responds to unsubstantiated allegations from a single media outlet and the off-record briefing, which has linked it to the team principal of Mercedes-AMG F1. The team has received no communication from the FIA compliance department on this topic, and it was highly surprising to learn of the investigation through a media statement. We wholly reject the allegation in the statement and associated media coverage, which wrongly impinges on the integrity and compliance of our team principal. As a matter of course, we invite full, prompt, and transparent correspondence from the FIA compliance department regarding this investigation and its content." So, as soon as the FIA announced they were going to investigate this, very aggressive response from Formula One and Mercedes, basically saying, no truth to this at all. We'll obviously be transparent, but, this is complete and utter bullshit. And then there was I guess, on Twitter and just in the F1 community, people were discussing really, who was the team principal, who was the team that dobbed Toto in if it turned out this was something that did indeed happen. We'll get onto this Susie Wolf statement in a moment, but if I scroll up, let's see if I can actually, you know what I'll do? I'll just go to one of the team's Twitter pages and just read the statement, because all of the statements that they produced were basically the same. As you can see here, AlphaTauri, along with every other team, and eventually Alfa Romeo, basically did a copy-paste statement that obviously FOM sent to the teams and said, get this out there, we need to, be united as an organization to stand against, the FIA and the allegation. And this is what the statement for all the teams basically said. We can confirm that we have not made any complaint to the FIA regarding the allegation of information of a confidential nature being passed between an F1 team principal and a member of FOM staff. We are pleased and proud to support F1 Academy and its managing director through our commitment to sponsor an entrant in our liveries from next season. And again, every team copy and pasted the exact same thing. So, according to the teams, there was none of the teams on record, actually made a complaint in regards to Toto Wolff. But a lot of us were thinking, surely the FIA, there has to be some sort of, actual accusation or actual evidence that has prompted them to do this investigation, rather than just launch an investigation because one media outlet, which is a bit questionable, let's just say that, made an allegation, a few days after the final Grand Prix. We'll get onto that later on. If I go back to this Twitter account and go back to Susie Wolf's statement, if I just scroll down, here you go. Just want to get into Susie Wolf's statement because even though, looking back, let me see everything. Yeah, everything is still working all good. I just want to go through it because even though, in hindsight, she, has, come out innocent, and she is innocent in this situation, there were a couple things in this statement she released that I really did not agree with, and I still don't agree with. So this is what a statement says. It says, "I am deeply insulted but sadly unsurprised by the public allegations that have been made this evening. It is disheartening that my integrity has been called into question in such a manner, especially when it seems to be rooted in intimidatory and misogynistic behavior and focused on my marital status rather than my abilities. Throughout my career in motorsport, I've encountered and overcome numerous obstacles and refused to let these baseless allegations overshadow my dedication and passion for F1 Academy. As a woman in this sport, I have faced my fair share of challenges, but my commitment to breaking down barriers and paving the way for future generations to succeed remains unwavering. In the strongest possible terms, I reject these allegations. In terms of, saying that these allegations are not true, great statement. But let's just clarify something. And I really hope that there isn't too many dense idiots out there that, are going to disagree with what I'm going to say, because and what I'm saying really is just, logic, really. It's a logical take, what I'm going to say here. But even though in the end, it's turned out that there was, no evidence of confidential information being passed or a conflict of interest that could be breaking the rules that's set for Formula One. Saying that these allegations seem to be rooted in intimidatory and misogynistic behavior, I just think is wrong. Because the allegations, and we'll get on to the article in a moment, because we'll get into the part of the article which, directly gets into the accusation. Even though that certain publication is, again, it's a bit questionable and probably have done a couple misogynistic things in the not too distant past, the allegation itself has nothing to do with Susie Wolf being a woman. Absolutely nothing to do with that. The allegation was that because she was married to Toto Wolff and because she was, in the, I guess, FOM sphere and Toto in the F1, teams sphere, that there was a potential conflict of interest. Conflict of interest has zero to do with whether you're a man or a woman or whatever, gender. It doesn't matter. It's purely down to, or not purely down to, but it's really, in this case, it's down to marital status. If Toto had a husband and the accusation was still made, that it would still be a potential conflict of interest. Even if it turned out there was nothing wrong, no rules were broken, it doesn't matter that Susie Wolf is a woman in that, when it comes to that. It's not, I don't believe that, the allegations necessarily in the way they were put in the article were misogynistic. And I don't think, the FIA investigating it necessarily, is clear misogyny, because I don't think we have a clear, I don't think we have clear evidence of that. But yeah, I thought this at the time, even if it turns out that he's innocent, it's, playing the misogyny card is not going to help at all. And again, it's incorrect because it's got nothing to do with her being a woman. So you add that, the teams releasing their statements, basically F1 in Formula One saying, this is total bullshit. Nobody has reported Toto Wolff for this supposed thing. And then at that point, again, our thoughts were, well, either one of the teams are lying or the FIA has legitimately launched an investigation purely because one dodgy publication has released an article. And my assumption, wrong assumption, was that one of the teams was lying. Because I thought, surely not. Surely the FIA, an organization that whilst they do anger us, they, at least maintain a level of professionalism. Surely they would not launch an investigation based off of one publication. And even, even if like the most, say the best publication in the Formula One landscape, whether that be, I don't know, I mean, you guys can, let me know who you think the best publication is, whether it's The Race or Autosport. You've got racefans.net. You've got, loads of different publications doing an investigation based off of an allegation from a publication. I don't think is necessarily something that should happen unless there is actual evidence that obviously the publication could share with the FIA. We'll get into this, by the way, this little story in a moment as well. If I scroll up, if I can find the results basically, and yeah, so what happened was, let me see if actually I can find. I'll go to Andrew Benson because I think he did a tweet basically about how it all ended. There you go. So this was on December 7th, so 2 days after the investigation was launched. The FIA ends its compliance investigation into F1 and Toto and Susie Wolf. It is, quote, satisfied FOM's compliance management system is robust enough to prevent any unauthorized disclosure of confidential information, and there is no ongoing investigation. So basically, they launched an investigation, the FIA, and again, we don't know directly if this is absolutely 100% true that they did launch an investigation because of the allegation made by Business F1. But let's be honest, they did. That is what the FIA did. That is why, coming out of this situation, the FIA look absolutely like the biggest clowns you can imagine. Because I thought, again, legitimately, before they ended the investigation, I thought, surely the FIA, even though I don't like them, surely they are not that bad, that shit of an organization to investigate a person or persons based off of just written words in a magazine. And that's what they did. I don't really have any words to describe, really, what they did. Just unbelievable stupidity. As Andrew goes on to say here, Mercedes could yet move to seek redress from the FIA for reputational damage. If they can get that, then that would be great. Definitely hurt reputation. And this is Susie Wolf's second statement after the investigation, it was announced, was over. She said, when I saw the statement issued by the FIA yesterday evening, my first reaction was, quote, is that it? For 2 days, insinuations have been made about my integrity in public and through background briefings, but nobody from the FIA has spoken to me directly. I might have been collateral damage in an unsuccessful attack on somebody else or the target of a failed attempt to discredit me personally, but I have worked too hard to have my reputation called into question by an unfounded press release. We have come a long way as a sport. I was extremely thankful for the unified support of the Formula 1 teams. I've worked with so many passionate women and men at F1 and the FIA who have the very best interests of the sport at heart. However, this episode has so far taken place without transparency or accountability. I've received online abuse about my work and my family. I will not allow myself to be intimidated and intend to follow up until I have found out who has instigated this campaign and misled the media. What happened this week is simply not good enough. As a sport, we must demand and we deserve better. Good to see that she is going to follow up until she finds out, where this all came from in terms of the article and all of that. And she has every right to feel this way because of, what the FIA, the way it was handled, basically. The FIA looking into certain things just to make sure rules are being, not broken. There's nothing wrong with that. They are the regulator of Formula 1, but there is no doubt the way they managed the investigation and the way they managed it as a whole, and the way as well they've managed the reaction has been so bad, so incredibly bad, and gets worse seemingly. Toto Wolff, a statement from him, saying, "We are in active legal exchange with the FIA. We await full transparency about what took place and why, and have expressly reserved all legal rights. Won't comment now, but will certainly address the matter in due course." And then Lewis Hamilton had some comments there, basically echoing what they said. And then let me hold on. Let me try and just find this other thing quickly. Where is it? Here we go. So this is on December 8th. This is what? A day after the investigation announced it was over. Suddenly, the FIA spokesperson announces, quote, "Several days ago, the president, Mohammed bin Sulayem, took ill and suffered a fall and a concussion. He received care in hospital and will make a full recovery." And when the FIA gala took place, I think, it wasn't last night. I think, was it the night before? I can't remember exactly when it was. He was there in a, quote, limited capacity, but apparently several days ago, was in hospital, suffered a nasty fall, had a concussion. But a couple days ago, there were videos before this statement of Mohammed, absolutely fine. No problems. Looked like, perfect condition for, someone as old as him. Like, seriously, this was their response. This was legitimately they honestly thought that, yeah, let's have this as our response to all of the fuck ups we've done in the last couple days. This definitely won't make us look like absolute pussies and like the, again, biggest clowns that you can possibly think of. If if you make mistakes in life, and big mistakes, face it, front it, own up to it. Don't run away, because that is basically what the FIA president did. Didn't want to be so on show for so long, given what happened. So, that's what they decided to do. Just so stupid. So stupid. But, that's, what happened. But there is a couple other stories in relation to this that I want to get into. There's this, for example. According to BBC sources, this was during all of the, the fighting. And, this was before the FIA ended their investigation. According to BBC Sport sources, Liberty Media could lose patience with the FIA, and F1's owners are reportedly unhappy with the actions of the FIA president. Possible, maybe Liberty Media will look to break away from the FIA, which I hope doesn't happen. Even despite this fuck up from the FIA, I would still more so, support the FIA in any, battle for, where Formula One is, whether it's, under the FIA's umbrella or whether Liberty Media, go off on their own with Formula One. But yeah, you can't, given what's happened here, you can't sit here and say that this is a unjustified or unreasonable reaction, because, launching an investigation into that potential of conflict of interest, which it turned out there was no story there at all, it does affect not only the credibility of Toto and Susie Wolf, it can affect the credibility of the entire sport. So I can't sit here and say that it's an unreasonable reaction, even though I don't want Liberty Media to break away, Formula One to break away from the FIA, because long term, I don't think that would be good for Formula One, and I think it would fast forward the death of Formula One as a watchable product. But again, you can't sit here and say that it's not that it's an unreasonable reaction to the ongoing events of the last few days. Let me just quickly though, what do you call it? One thing I wanted to do, I'll just go back to this, is I wanted to what do you call it? I wanted to quickly get into or show on screen the part of the article that was released that was the base, I guess, of the accusation. I wanted to just get that up on screen and show it to you guys. The reason I want to do it really is more so um to what do you call it? More so to just show why, in my view, I don't think it was necessarily you know misogynistic. So let me see if I can just find it quickly. It might take me a few seconds. Right, here we go. So I'll just get this up on screen. So this is part of the article that, really gets into the accusation. So it says the situation with Susie Wolf is rather more serious than may seem apparent. It is 9 months since she was appointed as the F1 Academy director, and at first the team principals took little notice, but now they are seething as they have realised what is going on. A former team principal whose concerns were ignored back in April told this magazine, by the way, that former team principal, surely that can only be one person, and he was fired mid-season. I think you guys will know who that is. Surely it's got to be either him. I can't imagine it could be anyone else that's a former team principal that is able to really know the situation as well as that certain person. I'm not making any accusations that it is that actual person who was fired midway through 2023. I'm not saying that he legitimately said what I'm about to read out, but this former team principal that they are referencing, that is the person I think they are trying to reference. Even though I don't think that particular person said this particular thing, because it's been proven that this article is complete bullshit. Told the magazine, quote, imagine that Jerry Horner or Raquel Stroll, I think that's how you pronounce it. Those two, by the way, are the other halves of Christian Horner and Lawrence Stroll, respectively, were appointed to head up Formula 2 or got a job at Formula 1 or Liberty. It would be ridiculous conflict of interest. It would simply wouldn't be tolerated. Susie Wolf's job at the academy is just the same. He added, quote, this is a time bomb waiting to go off. Go off, does it mean? Or just off? To off, potentially even more serious than what happened in Singapore last year. What the part of the article there is referencing with the Singapore is obviously the leaking of, that Red Bull had broken the cost cap. And there is many allegations still to this day that it was to a former legal advisor who used to work for Mercedes. Can't remember her exact name. And quite difficult for me to pronounce, but yeah, she used to work for Mercedes, went to the FIA, and there's allegations that Toto had previous knowledge of a couple things. The technical directive for 2022, of course, that came in mid-season, and that cost cap thing. There's allegations to do with that. I haven't really read as much into that as probably I should, but yeah, that's a whole nother story for a different day. But looking at this article, at the end of the day, in hindsight, it's been proven that this is, bullshit. But looking at this part of the article and this allegation, I can't see anything here that is misogynistic, like clear-cut misogynistic. Again, if it's found out that the allegation made by the magazine Business F1, if it comes out that it was purely motivated because they hate Susie Wolf or hate women, and again, they have done a couple questionable articles in the past when it comes to females, then, if it turns out that that's the case, that it was, they went through this allegation because they hate Susie or hate women, then yeah, misogynistic. But with the way this is worded, I can't sit here and say 100% it's misogynistic. And we have to remember, with Susie Wolf, because of what she's up to, what Toto Wolff is up to, people are a lot more likely to be coming after Toto than Susie. Because Toto has a much bigger responsibility within Formula One, or, the whole organization. Not whole organization, but you know what I mean. There's more people are more likely to go after him than Susie. Maybe they are, in a very bad way, using Susie part of this allegation to get to Toto, and if that is, true, then that is absolutely horrible. But I think there is definitely a chance that these allegations are more so centered on, and the focus of the people, accusing is more so centered on Toto Wolff. And, let's say, for example, this was true and it turned out that it was a conflict of interest and this particular thing happened when now we know it didn't. These are legitimate concerns that the article, or, went through, and, when the allegation was displayed. They are legitimate concerns. And again, there is nothing misogynistic about raising possible alarm over a, possible conflict of interest. It's not misogynistic. It's got nothing to do with gender. Nothing at all. Which, it really saddened me how stupid people on Twitter are when I was seeing the reaction to it. Because so many people were thinking that it was purely because Susie's a woman. When again, the accusation, I don't think of conflict of interest, I don't think is really anything to do with, her being a woman. Again, maybe you could say that the allegation was coming from a place of hatred for women or hatred for Susie, but we don't know if that's true. So I'm not going to sit here and make claims that I have not really any evidence for. And I would definitely caution people against doing that on social media, because it's not a good thing to do. Have evidence before you start accusing people of stuff. But, again, when it comes to conflict of interest stuff, it's a legitimate concern, even if it turns out, that the rumored concern is bullshit. It's still something to at least check if there is, actual evidence of, something going on. So, yeah, that's my thoughts on it. And like I said, the people online saying about how, it's, bringing Susie into this is definitely misogynistic. Again, I just don't believe that it is. And I'm going to wait to see if there's further evidence maybe to show that it is, or it came from a misogynistic place, before I, say any more on it. Another thing that really saddened me, though, well, not saddened me, but actually angered me quite a bit, was the amount of people who don't understand what a conflict of interest is. And there is a tweet. I'll just go back to this whilst I bring up this tweet. There is a tweet that perfectly captures what I'm talking about. Let me find it. Because it is, yeah. When I saw it, I was like, how are people thinking that this is, a good take, or a, this actually is what a conflict of interest is. So, it's a tweet from someone you may know, Homo F1, one of the biggest F1 YouTubers. Just want to clarify, got no problem with the guy. So, when I do criticize his tweet, got no problem with him. But I have a lot to get into with this tweet he did. So, this is the tweet he made. And this was, what was it, Wednesday? I think he did this tweet. I can't remember exactly. He said, Formula One is one massive conflict of interest. 7 out of the 10 teams are based within a 100-mile radius. Personnel from different teams travel together all the time, often seeing each other more than their own families during the season. Ross Brawn was Ferrari/Brawn before he moved to oversee these new regs. Stefano Domenicali was Ferrari team principal. Now he's literally F1 CEO. Laurent Mekies did 3 years at the FIA before moving to Ferrari. He'll be Racing Bulls. That Racing Bull name, by the way, that's what we think AlphaTauri are going to be called in 2024, but we haven't heard, I don't think, official confirmation for that yet. Laurent Mekies will be team principal in 2024. Martin Budkowski was at McLaren, then Ferrari, then the FIA, and then Alpine. Unless the FIA can find something unequivocally sus, proof of sensitive information that Susie/Toto had that can only be explained by the other telling them, then damn. But they gave genuine credentials to a questionable source for nothing. All they did was expose a united front against them. FIA gonna look like a serious clown show. And yeah, they do look like a serious clown show, no doubt about that. But let me just get into why Tom, either he's confused or he doesn't understand at all what a conflict of interest is. First off, 7 out of the 10 teams being based within a 100-mile radius. How on earth is that even close to a conflict of interest? The reason teams are based in England is because a lot of the teams back in the day, and well, maybe other people will come up with different reasons why all the teams are, based so close, but also based, in England. But a lot of the teams that are on the grid now used to be British teams. You've got Red Bull, who, they've got a lot of English people working for them, but obviously they used to be the Jaguar team, and then they were Stewart, British team. You've got Mercedes, who, if you go back in their history, they were obviously Brawn, and then you had VAR, and then before that, Tyrrell. You've got what are the Aston Martin, of course, all the way back in history used to be the Jordan F1 team. Goes on and on and on. That's why so many teams are, in England. And the reason they're based within a 100-mile radius is because, and the reason they're all based in that, north-southeast region is because of Silverstone. And not just Silverstone, but a lot of the racetracks, are, not too far away if you're based in that area of the UK. It's got nothing to do with, something sneaky going on or something like that. It's got nothing to do with that at all. I just don't understand why he even mentioned that. It's got nothing to do with a conflict of interest. Personnel from different teams travel together all the time, often seeing each other more than their own families during the season. Again, how is that a conflict of interest? The reason personnel from different teams travel together is because, some used to work for different teams and obviously develop friendships, and they keep those friendships going. It's got nothing to do with, and what a conflict of interest would be is if, I guess, you had one person working for one company, but also, for another. But, just because, that personnel from different teams travel together, see each other. Again, that's not what a conflict of interest is. Not at all. Personnel from different teams are allowed to interact. Not the COVID bubble. Ross Brawn, he goes on to say, was Ferrari/Brawn before he moved to oversee these new regs. Again, irrelevant because he wasn't working at the FIA and Ferrari at the same time, or FIA and Brawn/Mercedes at the same time. So again, irrelevant. For Stefano Domenicali, again, irrelevant because he wasn't the F1 CEO and the Ferrari team principal. Laurent Mekies, again, he wasn't working for the FIA and Ferrari at the same time, and he won't be working for the FIA and AlphaTauri at the same time next year. And with Martin Budkowski, yeah, he was at McLaren, he was at Ferrari, he was at the FIA, and he's still at Alpine. I can't remember exactly, but again, all at different stages of time. He's not been working for them at the same time. So again, just a complete lack of understanding of what a conflict of interest is. You're allowed to move from team to team. And yeah, I'll admit it's not great that you have, say, what we had with Jean Todt, Ferrari team principal, then the FIA president. I know, it's not great, but I don't think that's a conflict of interest. If anything, all of these things that, that Tom is describing with Domenicali, Ross Brawn, or Mekies, it's nepotism, if anything. It's not a conflict of interest. Again, just Google what a conflict of interest is, and within 5 minutes at most, you should be able to understand what a conflict of interest is. But what Tom here is describing is not a conflict of interest. Again, it's a much better case of nepotism rather than a conflict of interest. So, yeah. My message here would be, if you're unsure about what something is, literally just Google it and then put meaning at the end of it, and you'll find out why. But don't let people like this, and again, no disrespect to Tom, good guy, zero problem with him, means well, zero problem, but because obviously he has quite a bit of influence within the F1 community, do try to fact check, even me, when I say things, because I'm not going to be right on everything. I'm not the fountain of knowledge, when it comes to stuff. So, when I or other bigger F1 content creators say stuff, don't just believe it immediately, because, some things you may become more intelligent on, but some things you might be completely wrong on if that person, that content creator, influencer, whatever you want to call it, if they, are also wrong. So there you go. That's just what I wanted to say about that. But overall, what a complete shit show this all is. And can't blame Toto and Susie Wolf if they want to go the legal route. Can't blame them at all, because they've had their name dragged through the mud really for no reason. And just want to quickly read out in the chat, Nib, who's in the chat, obviously you got just saying, and they all have this gardening leave to make sure no confidential information is shared. Exactly. There are things guarding against that sort of stuff, but moving from the FIA to a team and then back to the FIA, stuff like that, again, it doesn't feel great. It's something that if I could have a rule against, I probably would, but it's not a conflict of interest. It just isn't. And as Nib's saying in the chat, top from Ferrari team principal to FIA was very questionable, but don't think that can happen anymore. Yeah, I hope it can't happen anymore. And yeah, it's not a great thing, but let's be clear on what, we're criticizing, because it's definitely not conflict of interest. If Jean Todt, let's say, because is Ferrari publicly traded? I think they are. If they're not, then just say they're not, because I don't know exactly if they are. I'm assuming they are, or the company that owns them. But let's say Jean Todt, whether Ferrari are or not, who knows? I haven't got the time to Google it. But let's say Ferrari were a publicly traded company. If Jean Todt had some shares in Ferrari still, even though he left the team and was FIA president at the same time, that would be clear evidence of a conflict of interest. But because he left Ferrari clean, just left and went to the FIA, not a conflict of interest. Again, it's not good, but it's not what that is. And again, it did sadden me how many people online and in the F1 Twitter or F1 community space, how many people don't understand what a conflict of interest is. Literally, Google is your friend. Just Google it. That's what the term's for. If you're unsure of something, and really, not even that, if you and I've learned this from being at uni, you should be Googling stuff. If you're going to be making claims, you should be Googling stuff quite often. Because one thing you don't want to be doing is making claims or saying things about certain things, and then it turns out that you're completely wrong because you just haven't done any, haven't done any research. So yeah, yeah. Nib saying would be under the Fiat group. Yes, yeah. So if that happened and he had some shares in that and was FIA president, then yeah, it'd be clear conflict of interest. But again, didn't happen. But let me just get through a few comments, and then I think we'll go on to another couple bits of news, and then I'm going to get into my early 2024 predictions. So, right. Let me just read a few comments here. Laurie Rostogi saying, Chaz HD going to explode at this rate. Poor guy. Not quite sure why he said that, but there you go. Patrick saying it was Bernie. I have heard that apparently Bernie used to own the Business F1 magazine, and obviously there's allegations that Bernie and Christian Horner are working together in this evil master plan and all that. Again, we don't have any evidence of that, and if it has come from Bernie, again, we'll have to see if there's actual evidence for that. We'll wait and see what happens with this. We definitely have not heard the last of, this whole issue. Desire saying, I've already stopped supporting the Mercedes, but if they can't get it right with this new car they've been hyping up, I'm officially denouncing them. Desire earlier saying, imagine investigating conflict of interests when in the past few years you've had a Ferrari man through and through and an ex-Red Bull affiliate driver as FIA president. Like, come on, read the room. But again, that's not what a conflict of interest is. What you're saying there, again, legitimate concerns, but again, it's not a conflict of interest officially. But I agree, it's not. I don't feel good about Mohammed Ben Sulayem being the FIA president when he has, or not has, he had Red Bull affiliation. Same with Jean Todt. I didn't feel good about him being I was gonna say team principal, but him being the president of the FIA. Never felt good about it. I always felt like, that was a clear case of something. How best to describe this? It was a clear case that even despite not trying to think how to describe this in the best way possible. Obviously, right before Jean Todt left, you had left Ferrari as team principal. You had Crashgate, Spygate, and the ethics, the fairness of Formula One was put under microscope, and definitely people. There would have been people that probably fell out of love with F1 in regards to those particular incidents. And, Jean Todt becoming FIA president was not going to make people feel any better about the integrity of Formula One. Again, I'm never going to accuse Jean Todt of anything as from when he was FIA president, because there isn't any evidence to suggest he did anything wrong. But it's not a great look. It's definitely not a great look. But yeah, I think I'll end that part of the stream because been talking about it for long enough. I mean, nearly an hour in. That's all we've talked about. But it was, it's been a big story, and it's something we had to talk about. I couldn't just sit here and ignore it like it would ever happen. A couple other bits of news. The Spanish Grand Prix will be moving to Madrid in 2026, and it will be a new 10-year contract for the Spanish Grand Prix, but again in Madrid, on the streets of Madrid, on a was it a mostly permanent track? I can't remember if it was or not, or I can't remember the exact term they used. But yeah, new track for the Spanish Grand Prix, Madrid street circuit, around I think is it the center of Madrid. Yeah, not good at all. Another street circuit coming to Formula One. Everyone I saw in the F1 community, except the ones that are clearly bought and paid for, was saying, stupid, wrong decision. We don't need any more street circuits. And even though the Circuit de Catalunya, not the best track in the world. They've made it better now. They've gone back to the final two, high-speed corners that they used to have. Again, it's not the greatest track, but if you look at tracks in Spain, it's the best track in Spain, I think, for Formula One. Maybe you could say Jerez, but Jerez is way too small for these cars. These cars would never be able to side by side on that track because, again, of how small the circuit is. So you're gonna have a Spanish Grand Prix. Really, it should be at the Circuit de Catalunya. And it's a great location. I've been there. I went there. What was it? Almost 10 years ago. The only Grand Prix I've ever attended. In 2014. And obviously I went there for preseason testing in 2019. Great track. Great facilities. Zero problem that I found with the track. I mean, I know there was a couple issues. I think was it last year. In terms of water around the track because it was really hot. They ran out of water, I think, on race day, and there was issues about that. But from what I heard, they resolved that for the following year, being this year. There's nothing really wrong, again, with that event, and I just don't get why another street circuit. I mean, I do get why, but it pisses me off so much. It really does, because Liberty Media go on about how, and they did especially do this when they were in their first year or so of owning Formula One, going on about, we will listen to the fans, we will make changes, and make Formula One better, and they just don't. They're just completely lying, and we know that everything they do is purely motivated by money, and that is why the Formula One Spanish Grand Prix is going to Madrid. It's because Madrid is paying more than than the people for the Circuit of Catalunya, and it's so depressing. The track I've seen looks like a long version of the Las Vegas track. Looks like if Las Vegas and Baku had a baby. That's basically what the track looks like. And yeah, we've only got 2 more races in Catalonia, and then that'll be it. And then we'll be racing around another street circuit. Another thing as well, and I know people, countless people have probably said this, but it is so true. Street circuit racing for Formula One was special. It's not special anymore because half the tracks on the calendar nearly are going to be street races. And eventually, I would not be surprised by this at all if 99, if not 100% of the races on the calendar were around street circuit. Wouldn't be surprised at all because that's the way things are going. We'll probably get more American street races, maybe an extra one in Canada. Obviously, there's plenty of street circuits you could do in America. Obviously, IndyCar does a lot of them. And then you got loads of other maybe cities in Europe. Got Asia, maybe even Africa. So yeah, it's just another thing that is going to cause me to stop watching Formula One in a few years' time if Formula One continues the way it is at the minute, because Formula One, the last year or so has not been great, and with the way Formula One is heading, doesn't feel like Formula One is going to get any more exciting or better in the long term, and it's an incredibly depressing thing to think about. And even worse, we have had official confirmation, guys, as to where the 6 sprint races for next year will take place. Let me find the tweet. To show you guys where those sprint races will be. Nib saying on the chat, I thought you were about to say there's plenty of streets in America and then just leave it there. I wouldn't be surprised if they just, if like most of the calendar in like 10, 15 years time was just like an IndyCar type calendar in terms of like the street circuits. Yeah, let me just find this tweet. And Here we go. Get it up on screen quick. Here are your sprint races in 2024, and it makes me want to throw up, and I've already thrown up plenty the last few hours. Bit of a night last night. The Chinese Grand Prix, the Miami Grand Prix, the Austrian Grand Prix, the United States Grand Prix, the Sao Paulo Grand Prix, and the Qatar Grand Prix. Deciding to host sprint races in Shanghai and Miami is a crime against humanity. I will not be doing a sprint race watch along for the Chinese or Miami Grand Prix. I'll obviously do the qualifying and race watch along. There is still discussions as to when the sprint race is going to be, because there are rumors that the sprint race is going to move to a Friday. I really hope it does, because for example, the Chinese Grand Prix sprint race, I will not be waking up for that. I will not be covering it in any way, shape, or form, because, I mean, races in general around Shanghai, a lot of them, they're not terrible, but a lot of them can be a bit mid, let's say. So nothing's going to happen in that one. Sprint race in Miami, I'm not surprised that they're having a sprint race in Miami, but Jesus Christ, is that going to be bad? Austria, that'll be good, because obviously there's like a million DRS zones. We just saw the sprint race in Austin, which was pretty bad. Sao Paulo obviously will be great, because again, million DRS zones. And Qatar will only be good if we have a tire offset thing like we had in the sprint race this year. Of course, it'll be a lot cooler at the time of year that we're taking place in 2024. But yeah, those first two sprint races, oh my goodness. I really hope points are not going to be available for those, because those are going to be unbearable to watch. And hopefully, in the future, we will never see sprint races again. But yeah, I'm not banking on it. Josiah saying China, I'm willing to give a chance because we haven't seen it for 5 years now. I mean, it's not going to be any different from what it was before. I mean, yeah, it's not seen a lot of racing in the last few years, but we know what that track's like. A lot of the time you need rain to have a good race around there. There are some good dry races there, but they were at very exciting times in general in Formula One, where we had high tyre wear, cars that could follow a lot better, but also a lot lighter, and could race side by side with one another. I mean, the last Grand Prix we had there in 2019 was so boring. Can't really remember anything massive that happened in that race. I know I think the top three was Hamilton, Bottas, and Vettel, was it? I think. But yeah, except for the start of that race, nothing really happened. In a 56 lap race, if nothing really happens, and again, a lot of the Chinese Grand Prix, if you go back and watch them, the dry races in Shanghai, again, a lot of them do tend to just be mid. If that's over 56 laps, then God forbid, it'll be 20 lap race. It'll be, like I said, most probably unwatchable. Because I was saying it was 1000th race. Oh, was it 1000th race? Yeah, I think it was. God, that was long ago. I remember all the stuff they did for that. And also Mercedes did a double pit stop. Yeah, I think that there just shows you that what do you call it? I think that just shows you that, that particular race was very boring. But I think it's about time, because I've already been live for an hour. Let's get into my early 2024 predictions. Make sure to put your early 2024 predictions in the chat, the comment section. Again, it's early. Pre-season testing is a little over 2 months away. There's no harm in some predictions at this time of year. And you never know, these predictions might be more accurate than the ones we make right before the start of the year. So, let's start with who is going to be the world champions in 2024. I'm going to talk about it super long, but of course, it is going to be Red Bull Racing. Obviously, won every single race did Red Bull in 2023, except Singapore Grand Prix. And remember, with them having the wind tunnel penalty from this year, that's not going to affect them next year, of course, because they don't have a wind tunnel penalty. And will have actually 7% more time in the wind tunnel next year than they had this year. And you just know Adrian Newey has been saving up for this 2024 car. And that Red Bull car in testing, I can just see it now. Max Verstappen, late in the day, doing lap times that are like a second a lap quicker. I'm not saying he's that Red Bull are gonna be, a second lap quicker than everybody else, but would we be surprised if that happened? I don't think we would. Yeah, Red Bull are gonna win the championship. They can't be stopped. The regulations the way they are, unless Mercedes and Ferrari make a massive jump. And the reason I mentioned them making a massive jump and not the others is because Mercedes and Ferrari for 2024 are redesigning their cars fundamentally. If they don't make that massive jump up to Red Bull's level, then Red Bull are going to win the championship easily next year and in 2025. And yeah, Max Verstappen will win his 4th world championship in 2024. Yeah, I really don't see what can stop the Red Bull team. And I'd be very surprised if anyone out there will dare to predict anybody else winning a not a Grand Prix. Oh, anyone else possibly winning the championship. One thing I will say is because Mercedes and Ferrari, I do believe, will be closer to Red Bull. Definitely in the second half of the season compared to how they were this year in general. I don't think Red Bull are going to win as many races next year as they did this year, where of course this year they won, was it 22 out of 23? I don't think Red Bull are going to win that many in 2024, but they'll still win a disgusting amount, and Max Verstappen will still win a disgusting amount of races in 2024. For the front running teams, the other front running teams really of Ferrari, McLaren, and Mercedes. I'm not really going to include Aston Martin in that because, let's be honest, for the second half of the year, Aston Martin were not a front-running team. Ferrari are the team to look out for, in my view. I think Ferrari are the most likely to challenge Red Bull in 2024. By the way, there is a poll running on the top of the live chat where I've asked you guys directly who is most likely out of Ferrari, Mercedes, McLaren, and Aston Martin to challenge Red Bull next year. Let me know who you think. I think, like I said, Ferrari, because of one, the way they ended the year, and their new technical director was talking about this right after the summer break finished in Holland at the Dutch Grand Prix. That they now understand what the issues with the 2023 car were, and now know, according to them, where to go with the 2024 car. And if they do indeed know where to go, and they produce a car a lot better than what we saw at the start of this year, then Ferrari are in a lot more business than they were, a few months ago. So, yeah, I think Ferrari are the most likely to contend with Red Bull. And as well, we have to remember Ferrari have the strongest power unit on the grid, and with no development on the power units until 2026, that is always going to be a helping hand for the Ferrari team, even though reliability not great for them compared to the others. If we go then on to Mercedes-Benz, Mercedes, I think, will be closer to Red Bull on lap time in 2024, but I don't think, because of Ferrari and the improvements they will make, and because of also, the way Ferrari ended this season, it probably won't seem a better season in 2024 for Mercedes because of, again, Ferrari's improvement, but also the gap between them and Red Bull, not only at times, but really for most of the season, was so big that, if they do, eat into that gap by a few tenths of a second, they're still going to be quite far off in lap time. So, yeah, I don't think it's going to be a great 2024. I think, though, they will win a race. I think they'll be good enough to do that. I think they will have a good enough car at a particular race to get a race win. but I don't see them at all fighting Red Bull for a championship. And I think we'll do well to finish second in the championship again. And as we'll get onto in a moment, I've got my prediction drivers, the top 10 of the Drivers' Championship and the Constructors' Championship as well. But yeah, I think Mercedes are going to have quite a bit of trouble fighting Ferrari and McLaren. I think Ferrari will be faster than Mercedes probably for most of the season because I think Ferrari will start off the season quite a bit stronger. Mercedes will probably get closer, but I think Ferrari will be quicker over the course of the year. And with McLaren, you have to remember, if we just go on to them quickly, yeah, with McLaren, they have a bit more time in the wind tunnel for the first half of next season, 10% more than Mercedes. So if McLaren and Mercedes are on similar pace at the start of the year, then that extra bit of wind tunnel time really could come in handy and put McLaren in a position to fight for the top three, even second place in the championship. But McLaren, I think, will still be a front-running team next season. I think they'll still be, contending for podiums, stuff like that. But I don't see them as strong compared to Ferrari and Mercedes as they were in the second half of 2023, purely because Ferrari and Mercedes are going to make bigger gains, I think, over the winter than McLaren will. Because McLaren, you have to remember, they've already got a good car here. Of course, next year's car will be the first car produced from the new wind tunnel. Really excited to see what that produces. But again, McLaren, they've already got a good base, a good car. Ferrari and Mercedes, are going for something that's a bit more, a bigger step. When with McLaren, it's going to be more of I think, an evolution rather than a revolution with their car for. So yeah, McLaren, they'll be competitive, and I honestly think they will get a race win next season. Some track somewhere, I don't know exactly where. More likely to be, I'd say, probably a street circuit or something like that. I think they will get a race win, and I will let you guys know in a moment who I think will get that race win once we go the table for top 10 of the drivers and constructors tables for what I think will happen next year. But yeah, that's how I think things will play out for the front running teams. Not radically different from this year, but I think really 2024 is going to follow on, not entirely, but mostly from the form we saw at the end of this season, which is really motivating my predictions for the 2024 season. And if we go on to the midfield teams, that trend comes to my prediction continue. If we go on to AlphaTauri, if you look at the end of the season, I think you could argue that AlphaTauri had one of, if not the fastest midfield car. They were right there with Aston Martin at times. They were definitely quicker than Alpine in a few Grand Prix and were very, very strong. We cannot deny that. They made massive improvements. Obviously, that new floor they had on the car at the final race made them, very, very quick. And you had an AlphaTauri in the top 6 on the grid. And I think this team is probably going to make, in terms of where they finish in the championship and with the pace of the car, I think they will be the biggest improvement from any team in 2024. And their car is going to be a lot more in line, design-wise, with the Red Bull that we've seen, obviously, this year. And that will help them. That will put them in a much more competitive position. And in a position in the midfield, probably to be consistently fighting for points week in, week out. And maybe even at certain races be, one of the front runners. You don't know how, much that, those certain parts help the team. And we did see, didn't we, in a couple races before the end of the year, Brazil, Mexico, and Abu Dhabi, AlphaTauri were right in there with Mercedes and McLaren and Ferrari at times. So who knows what this team could do? They've got a lot of potential, I think, next year. Much better driver lineup. And yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what this team can do. And I'll get into my predictions with them in a moment. But yeah, I think they will definitely climb higher than 8th in the championship, where they finished next season, or this season, sorry. Aston Martin, honestly, I don't think are really going to seriously improve on where they were in the second half of this year, because unless they make a drastic change to the car, I don't see their pace just all of a sudden going back to what it was like at the start of 2023. So I think they'll be a midfield team. Unfortunately, Lance Stroll is still at the team, and that is going to affect their results going forward and will affect them in the Constructors' Championship. But in terms of the car they'll have, again, it'll be about the same as what they had in the second half of the season, which is, not great given the potential this team does have. I really hope, though, I'm wrong. I really hope I'm wrong, because it'd be great to see Aston Martin back to a front-running position again, because it was really exciting to see them up there, but then very quickly, very suddenly, fell away. Alpine, I don't have great feelings about them for next season. Really disappointed with them this season. Don't think the car they produced really was that good. Obviously, their power unit really is letting them down. It's just not powerful enough compared to the other ones, and that really hurts their performance. Well, they've got two drivers who are good, but they're never going to be consistently, performing at a level of a Verstappen, Hamilton, Alonso, Norris type of level. They do a solid job. Pierre Gasly, for example, I thought had a very good season, but they're not going to be doing, say, what Fernando Alonso was doing for the 2022, consistently putting in great performance after great performance. And yeah, I don't think they're going to have a great season, and I think they are now permanently stuck in the midfield. I just don't think I don't think this team can make really any progress from where they are. I don't think, this team continues to try more and more stuff to make the jump, and they just never really go anywhere, despite all the resources and money that they have. Williams, I think we'll have a decent season next season, but again, similar problem to Aston Martin. They don't have overall a strong enough driver lineup, I think, to really get the most out of what is, I think, a fundamentally good car from this year, which I think really they're just going to carry through the next season. I don't think you can any drastic changes sign of the Williams car. And yeah, that will let them down. Again, the driver lineup. Obviously, Alex Albon performing very well. He's not a problem, but Logan Sargent, who has been, officially confirmed, be driving for Williams next season. We wait to see whether Logan can produce what Williams need long term. But yeah, I think they'll have a decently quick car. There'll be the occasional race where they are really quick because of their strengths. But I think they'll be about where they were this year in terms of the championship. I don't think they're going to move massively down or up in standings, but I hope they can continue to move forward. And then, obviously, we've gone through AlphaTauri. Alfa Romeo, no longer Alfa Romeo, now Sauber for the next couple years. The only advantage they've got is that they've got a bit more wind tunnel time for the first half of 2024 compared to what they had for the first half of 2023. But I don't think this team is really going to make great use of it. Maybe they'll be a bit stronger in the first half of the season than they were this season in general, but I don't see them finishing any higher than where they finished this season. And really, I think they're just a team slowly transitioning into the Audi era, and I don't think they really give a fuck where they finish. And based on current form and their ability to build a car that is unraceable, Haas F1 will finish last in the championship. I am extremely confident about that. But let me now I've gone through all those teams, let me now go on to my top 10 prediction for the Drivers' Championship and my prediction for the Constructors' standing. And sorry, I'm just seeing in the Dibs saying he means the spirit of Mark Allen Webber was transcend the body of Oscar Piastri will win the Monaco Grand Prix. Also saying, are you telling me you aren't excited for Ocon war mode? Oh, God. If you don't know about that, Esteban Ocon a couple days ago said that he's going to be going into war mode for 2024. His version of war mode, though, is just putting his teammates in the wall. So, yeah, we'll see what happens with that. But let me get on to my top 10 for the driver standings. Max Verstappen will win the championship, of course. I've gone for the amount of race wins as well. I think each driver will have 18 wins out of 24 races is what I'm going for Verstappen. Leclerc, I think, will finish in second, picking up 3 wins. I think Leclerc will also take a lot of pole positions next year. I think Ferrari will be, again, quite a bit more competitive. Sergio Perez, third. He will get a win because Verstappen eventually will have a 4-weekend due to reliability reason form or whatever. Lewis Hamilton, I think, will win a Grand Prix. Obviously, hasn't won a Grand Prix since 2021. So, yeah, I think he will finish 4th in the championship. Carlos Sainz, I think, will finish 5th. And Carlos, I see him being very consistent, getting a few podiums, but I just don't think he'll be able to get a race win next year. And then with McLaren, I'm going Norris 6th, Piastri 7th. Norris, I think, will take the race win for McLaren and get that elusive win. But I will say, with Oscar Piastri, he will be a lot closer to Lando Norris in the championship than he was this year. This year, I think he was like 120 or 130 points behind Lando. Next year, I think it'll be like 30 points, something like that at most between the two. It'll be a very close fight next year. George Russell, 8th. I don't see massive improvement from him. And also, I don't think the Mercedes car is going to be necessarily quick enough to have Russell in the top 3 of the championship. By the way, I know I've predicted, Mercedes to be ahead of McLaren. Well, actually, I haven't got to that yet, but I've got Mercedes ahead of McLaren in the championship for 2024. I know I've got, 2 McLaren drivers in between the 2 Mercedes drivers, but to clarify, I think what will happen is Hamilton will finish 4th, probably 30, 40 points clear of Sainz, and then you'll have the McLarens very close to Sainz, and then Russell not too far away from the 2 McLarens. So by, I don't know, 20, 30 points overall, I think Mercedes will finish ahead of McLaren. Just want to clarify that. And then in 9th place, I have gone a massive surprise, Yuki Tsunoda. I've been very impressed by him this year, and I think Tsunoda will finish in the top 10 of the championship. And yeah, we'll finish up in P9. And I've gone Fernando Alonso in 10th because the Aston Martin car won't be quick enough. Despite him being an amazing driver, I don't think the car will be quick enough for him to be anywhere near the position he finished in 2023. And for the constructors side, this is what I've gone for. Red Bull to win the championship. Ferrari 2nd, Mercedes 3rd, McLaren 4th. As you can see there, Red Bull, I think, will take 19 wins. Ferrari 3 wins. Mercedes 1 win. McLaren 1 win. And then you've got the rest of the teams who, of course, I don't think will win a race. AlphaTauri, I think, will finish 5th in the championship. And the reason I think that, purely because, again, AlphaTauri, I think next season will have quite a fast car. They ended this season very quickly, remember. But also, they have a better driver lineup. And that is the key, I think, for AlphaTauri or Racing Bulls, whatever they're called, in 2024. So I think they'll finish in 5th. Aston Martin, will finish in 6th. Not too far behind AlphaTauri. And then Alpine in 7th. Williams 8th. Sauber 9th. And Haas F1 in P10. So I'll go back to the driver's side, just so you guys can have a look at that. Back to the constructors. Yeah, that's my early predictions for 2024. Let me know whether you agree or disagree. And Brooks saying Nib just screenshotting Chaz's predictions for reference. You never know. I could be more so correct with those compared to what my final predictions are after testing. Will F1 Gaming saying not a chance AlphaTauri finish 5th with Ricciardo in that car. I think you'll see a much better Daniel Ricciardo next season. Um, find some other comments here. Uh, Hard to see no other than Red Bull. I do see Lewis getting closer. There's is it Ange or Angel? Yeah, the best way to describe 2024 in terms of the fight for the championship is Red Bull will obviously still dominate, but it will be closer. The teams behind will be closer, but overall, the end result will still be the same. And I think I did say that a couple of weeks ago. But yeah, those are my predictions. Let me know, comment section. Obviously, once this is finished, what your early predictions for next year are. I think what I'm going to do, though, guys, is finish up this poll and just get into one final thing before I come to the end of the stream. Because, again, had a night on the town last night, let's say, and I'm physically not feeling great. So, yeah, I don't want to really be going any longer. But I asked you guys who is most likely to challenge Red Bull in 2024, 36 votes, and you guys voted Mercedes, 36% of the vote. McLaren second, Ferrari third. Very surprised by that. And then Aston Martin in fourth. Yeah, if you guys think Mercedes, then fair enough. But obviously, we'll find out in a few months' time. But one final thing I want to get onto, because this is the final stream before 2024. I just need to go through a couple things content channel related that I want to let you guys know about. So yeah, this is the final stream of the year. My next live stream will be on Sunday the 4th of February, probably at the same time, 12 p.m. UK time. I like going live at that time. It's a good to go live. And what we'll be doing in that stream is covering any of the news that's happened basically since now until February, early February. And we'll be going through all of that. I'm sure there'll be a couple bits of news to go through. And then we'll go through that and anything you guys want to talk about as well. But there will be a few, I hope, recorded videos coming out between now and that next live stream in early February. I do have a video that I think will be coming out next week. It is a Lance Stroll video. I think you guys can kind of guess what I'm going to be saying or what the point of the video is going to be. But yeah, that video, I don't know for sure when it will be coming out next week, but it should be next week. All I've got to do is do the last couple bits for the video tonight, and then the video is ready for upload. So yeah, once I've got it finished, made the thumbnail, all of that, then I'll decide on when I'm going to upload it, and then obviously when we get to the upload day, I'll let you guys know, that it's coming out, and obviously, give you guys a slight bit of information as to, what video going to be about. So you got that coming next week, and then a few videos in January, I hope, and then probably 2 or 3 more in February before we get to pre-season testing. Again, my hope in total is to produce 8 to 10 recorded videos between now and pre-season testing, let's say. Doesn't mean that is 100% going to happen. That's my aim. Obviously, I'm at uni at the moment, so I'll try to get out as many videos as I can. But yeah, that's what I'm going to try and do. There is one video that I am working on that I do want to quickly talk about that is basically a part of a uni project I'm doing. It is an F1 related video, and I think you guys, if it turns out the way I'm hoping it will, I think you guys will enjoy it quite a bit. Video on a driver. Won't go into any more detail than that. But I'm going to be uploading that video probably probably mid-January, I would say, because the actual module has to be completed about a week after that. So I want to get the video, uploaded before then. So I was just, wanted to let you guys know about that. But another thing with that video is because for this module we're doing with uni, what we have to do is we have to, it's called content creation, the name of the module. What we have to do is effectively set up some sort of page, whether it's an app or a website, and then, put a piece of content on there. What I'm going to be doing, and I've already done most of the work, is I am going to be creating a new website. You guys might remember I did have a website a few years ago, which I ended up, I think, deleting. Was it a couple years ago now? I can't remember exactly. I think you guys will remember that website, maybe a couple of you. I'm going to be creating a new one. Hopefully, it'll be a better one than the previous best one. I mean, the previous one was good. It's just I think a lot of the time we didn't have enough time to manage it and really make it the best thing we could. But definitely have more time uh, this time round. But yeah, just to let you guys know, there'll be a website released in January as well. And on that website, there will be a part of the homepage where you guys can donate to the channel. And all I'm going to say is this. If you guys want to donate to help, buy me a coffee or whatever you want to call it, that's great. And if you do want to financially support the channel, it's not going to be, by the way, the donation amount. It's not going to be a massive amount. It's only going to be probably like £2 or £3 or at most. If you want to donate to the channel to help out, that'd be great. And I would massively appreciate that. But if you don't, just want to clarify, if you don't want to donate, that is fine. Zero problem with that. But again, if you do want to donate, there will be the chance to donate on the website starting in, hopefully the website will be going probably by the last week of January, I'm hoping. Maybe a bit earlier than that, but I want to make sure I have enough time to make it good as I can. So just want to let you guys know about that. Obviously, I will do a couple posts, Discord and my community tab on this YouTube page to let you guys know when the website goes live, and also let you guys know again about the donation. If you guys want to donate, like a monthly donation channel, and I'll let you guys know about that when we get. But yeah, that is the plan for the next couple months. So thank you guys for coming along to this stream and all the streams, of course, in 2023. You guys know I love streaming, and this has been another great year of streaming. So thank you guys a lot for coming along to them. Hope you guys all have a great rest of the year. For those who celebrate Christmas, I hope it's a great time with your family. If you don't celebrate Christmas, I hope it's just a good last few weeks of the year, and you have a good new year as well. Quickly again, before you go, if there is anyone new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe to the bottom right of the screen. You can do it right there. This is a great place to keep up to date with everything going on in Formula 1, and will be, of course, for before you go as well, if you haven't, smash the like button. It does help the channel in the algorithm. And I'm sure either my moderator Rooksfoot, he might be posting in the chat the link to our Discord server. Great place that is for notifications for, again, videos and streams, and also just content updates in general if you want to be updated as to what I'm doing with the channel at certain parts of the year. But thank you guys a lot for 2023. And yeah, if you've newly subscribed this year, thank you so much. Thank you to everybody come along today and come along for all the streams over the course of 2023. And until my next stream, again, Sunday the 4th of February, 2024, which is not as far away as you think. So I think it's only like 7 weeks away, that particular day. Until then, and until my next recorded video, which again should be coming out next week, a Lance Stroll video. I'll let you guys know more about that next week on my community tab and in Discord. But until then, guys, have a good rest of your year. And it's been me, Cancer HD. Goodbye.